Hello and welcome back to the Disciples of the Force podcast. We are your hosts, Spencer Silva.
How's it going?
And Austin Hyatt. We are here to cover the remainder of season 2 of Andor.
Yeah, we started strong with the first 3. And
Yes.
then we were gone for basically 2 weeks.
This one was out of our control. We are just cool, as you would say, and so we were both in Europe, apart from each other. Where'd you go, Spenny?
I went to a little place called Spain, Barcelona.
España, huh?
Or you may also know Mallorca.
Mallorca, okay.
And then I went to Italy. I saw the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Italia in Pisa.
And Rome, ever been?
Roma, okay.
And Florence, ever been? That's still where the Leaning Tower of Pisa is at, but
yeah.
Florence, just sick.
What was your favorite part?
There was this church in Florence. I forget the name of it. It was so massive. It was really green. I just loved the accents of it. It had all these like crazy like arc. I don't know. It was just really cool. And then my second would probably be the Leaning Tower of Pisa because the weather was super cloudy and cool.
Nice.
And then I loved Rome. Rome was sweet.
Yeah, Rome was
had
cool.
the best gelato. Could you believe it? And pizza of my life.
Could
you believe it?
Rome food. Not a surprise. Next level. When we drove into Rome a few years ago, I was like, this place is a shithole.
Yeah, like the outskirts.
Like, it is disgusting. Yeah. But then, all the sights, worth it. All the food, worth it.
Oh, and the best pasta of my life. Couldn't you believe it?
Yeah, yeah.
For real, I was like, this is amazing.
Did you have any cacio e pepe? What pasta do you have there?
They didn't tell me the name. They just kind of gave it.
What it looked like.
It was.
I'm really interested in this.
So it was so we booked the excursion through the cruise line, and so it was like included in the thing. It was red sauce with sausage, and it was penne.
Okay.
And it was cooked al dente, and the other one was penne as well, but it was a green pesto.
Okay, cool.
Both so good.
Okay, sounds great.
Bread let me down.
Sure.
That's okay. It was like, I'm used to sugar bread in America.
Yeah, sweet bread, bro.
Super sweet bread, and so it was really bland, but it paired nicely with the old pasta.
Lovely, dude. That sounds great.
What about you? Where'd you go?
I went to the UK, London. I went to Switzerland, Geneva, and went to...
Did you see the convention?
I did,
okay,
yeah.
Very nice.
And I went to France, Paris. Dude, yeah, I did see the Geneva, where the Geneva conventions were signed.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Really?
That was like highlight, yeah. The room that they were signed in is called Alabama, the Alabama room.
Is that why we call it the state Alabama?
No, it's actually named after a ship, which is named after the state.
Okay.
But
during the time when the U.S.
called
every ship state, like the U.S. California, U.S. Arizona.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll briefly get into it real quick.
Okay.
So during the Civil War, the British wanted to help the slave states, the Confederate states, to defeat the Union.
Really?
Yeah. The
they
slave
were against us, dude? What?
Yeah,
They're still mad that we had left?
Yeah, something like that. But, so the slave trade was illegal in the UK or in England at this point. But they still wanted to profit from the slave-made textiles and things like that. And they wanted to weaken the Union and everything like that. Yeah, so they were donating ships to the Confederates. One of the ships they donated was the Alabama, the HMS Alabama. And then when the first Geneva Convention was signed, one of the points about it was like retribution for states paying retribution for acts of war. Mm-hmm. So after the South lost, the U.S. went to Geneva and was like, hey, London or England, we want our money back. Like, you got to pay us back for all the destruction that ship did. And so that was where it was first signed. And they named it after that ship because that's what started it all.
Oh, but that is interesting.
Pretty cool.
Did you learn that there? Or that was prior knowledge?
I learned that there. Yeah, that was like, we were all shocked. We were like, we never knew any of that.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we don't know much as Americans.
Yeah, that's facts, bro. Okay, but yeah, fun. So yeah, it was out of our control that we weren't doing the show. We were both gone. Then we both ran a half marathon this weekend.
Just ran a half marathon. No freaking big deal. Thanks for the congrats in the chat.
Yeah. But yeah, let's dive into it, shall we?
Let's get on it. So, as you know, Andor is done. Officially done. Star Wars best project to date. I'll say it. Come at me if you will. Wow, what a ride.
Seriously.
Do you like, now my question before we get into it, better than season 1, or what is your thoughts?
Dude, that's really tough for me. They're different.
They're very different.
Right? Yeah, I think like it's bigger and better than season 1 for me.
Yeah.
But they're just different. Season 1 is perfect.
Very different.
Yeah. How about you?
I think I'm in the same, but I can't really say if I liked one more than the other. I really enjoyed watching this, and so they're probably because I didn't watch Andor season 1 as it was coming out. I watched it after, so to watch this while it was coming out was very enjoyable for me because I was like, "What's going to happen this next week?" So I mean, I just really had a fun time watching.
Were we not big Star Wars? Like, why'd you watch it after?
So that was about the time I had started getting into Clone Wars. It was right at that time because I hadn't done a full deep dive into Star Wars. I just loved the movies. That was really
right.
And then, and then I started watching. Like, you got to watch Andor, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, so, I remember begging you and Jaron and Forrest to watch
freaking
it. You would
begging me, dude.
Okay, well, good. Yeah. So we're not going to cover the arcs. We toyed with doing like the second 3-episode arc today, and then the next one. We're just going to do the remainder of season 2. And so this might be a long pod. It might be a quick pod. We'll see.
Yeah.
There may be some things that we kind of brush over because we're covering a much larger area, but we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
So
let's start with episode 4.
Okay, perfect.
This thing I have here, kind of the overall of so sorry, listeners. My
unprofessional.
Apologies. But I do love how when we get to this arc, we're starting to see how the propaganda is already getting into what people think of Gorman. Like, people are already like, "Oh, Gorman, I don't know," because I can't remember exactly, but I think Cyril's mom at this point is like, "Why can't you be there?"
That's actually hilarious. Like, we talk about the relevancy of this show, but that thing where she's commenting about how sucky Gorman is like a perfect representation of your weird grandparent that like watches Fox News. And she's like, ugh, like they give me the creeps. I don't like them, you know. And he's like, you're watching too much of this show, etc. And it's just kind of funny.
No, yeah, and I think it's. I mean, I love that kind of commentary though, because it's true. Like, there's people like, dude, you're just getting sucked into something.
Oh yeah,
that you're not having your own opinion of. You're just getting it regurgitated.
Right.
So when I first kind of watched this though, with kind of the persecution of the Gormites.
Yeah.
Reminded me of Jews and the Nazi Germany. But then I learned later that that's not even really what they were going for. They were going for the French.
In Nazi Germany?
Not even Nazi Germany, just the French Revolution kind of.
Oh, yeah.
That was what they were really pulling from.
Definitely got those vibes. The language, the Gorman language, sounds very French. Yes. It's like a weird mix between heavy French and a little bit of German. Their styling is very French. Like when he's eating in the cafe, that's like a French cafe. And yeah, just like their constant protesting and whatever is French. The reason I asked about if it had to do with the French resistance in World War II, when I was recently in Paris, I went to this museum that highlighted the resistance in World War II, which is a corner of history that I didn't know that much about. One of my favorite movies this year that I've watched for the first time is Army of Shadows. I think I talked about it recently. But like, if you want a little bit more Andor feel in your life, go watch Army of Shadows. Really? Very cool. Like, the main character is based on a real man named Jean Moulin, and he's very much like Luthen Rail, like willing to do whatever for the resistance. It's very cool. But the reason I was thinking about it so much is like the French people in that show or in that movie are like parallels to this show. And so I was wondering where they got that inspiration, but I'm sure it's somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's what they had said. Like, it's all, I mean, every actor that's Gorman is French.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing is based around the French language that they.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that he was like, the main actor was like, yeah, they created that language within like, I swear he said like a couple of days.
Oh, really?
I'm like, and they could speak it. And I was like, that's just crazy that you could like, because it's just so much like French. They just added different.
Yeah.
To make it not French. I don't know. I just thought it was cool. But I do just love like the start of this is you're just feeling like, oh, we're seeing a persecution. And the whole time these guys are like, why, like what in the world does the Empire want with us? We don't understand. And I was like, man, and as in the audience, like, but it's just like interesting to see that point of view of just like, yeah, we have no idea. We literally have zero idea why this is happening.
Yeah. Let's see. Backtracking a bit, I love this setup so now we're 1 year later, of course. That's how all of these arcs are starting. Now Cassian has lost Marva, his mom. He's lost Brasso, his buddy. He's lost his droid. Like, there's so much loss in his life now that I think it's perfect that last episode ends with Brasso dying. Spoiler. obviously.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's all this will be a spoiler if you haven't finished it.
It ends with Brasso dying, and then it opens up with him being like ultra protective of Bix.
Yeah.
And so I think that's an interesting theme throughout this arc, but then the rest of the series is just like how careful he is to protect Bix and like how it's starting to get in the way of his work.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we see her with her weird nightmare sequence with the interrogator guy. I can't remember his name. Sorry.
Yeah, you kidding me?
But I just think that's an interesting setup because then when we are shown Gorman and what Cyril's doing there, it's really interesting when Luthen has to approach him and approach Cassian and be like, hey, you ever been to Gorman? You need to leave Bix. Go to Gorman. Do this kind of different assignment that's not really your speed.
Yeah.
And so I think that was really interesting.
Yeah, I do like that. And I just love how he just gets into his characters too. Like,
yeah.
And I love when the Gorman girl, I forget her name. I didn't write down very many names. I was watching this while on the cruise ship. So
sorry. Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay,
well, I downloaded the 3 episodes and the last 3 I watched on the plane flight.
Nice.
But how she like acts like she knows him, like, oh hey, yeah.
Oh yeah.
He gets mad. He's like, don't rush this. That's not how this works. You don't know me. Like he just gets really mad. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The people you have following me, they're just drawing attention, send them home, very cool.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see like the different levels. And of course, that's a theme throughout the whole series. In the last arc, we see where the rebels are at that point compared to Luthen's cell and even to Saw's cell. But then here we see like these Gormans have kind of no idea what they're doing. They're so green.
Yeah.
And again, like one of my favorite things about Luthen's character is he just wants to create chaos and like tighten the grip of the Empire so that there will be more and more revolutions and rebellions. And that's one of the things here where Cassian is like, no, don't support the Gormans in this. Like they're going to blow it.
Yeah.
And Luthen's like, no, we need to support them. We need to see this through. Like imagine a wealthy and influential planet like this in full rebellion against the Empire. Like he sees the bigger picture.
Right.
And we saw a lot of that in season 1 with Aldani and all that stuff. And so it's really cool to see it here again.
Yeah. And I do love that, like, I think it's this episode where he goes and talks to Bix and he's like, I'm talking about Luthen, sorry. He goes to talk to Bix and he's trying to get her to go do a mission, like, I need you healthy, yada, yada. And then when finally Cassian returns, she tells him.
Right.
He's pissed. And then at the end, Luthen's like, oh, you both disappointed me then.
Yeah.
He was mad that, she told Cassian and that Cassian, I just thought it was like Luthen's game plan was very interesting there. I don't understand what his end goal was, but.
To split them up?
Yeah. Is it just because he knew he was becoming too dependent on Bix?
I think that's a huge part of it because in the next episode, when Cassian approaches him and he like goes to the shop, Luthen's like, do you have any idea what you're putting at risk here?
Yes.
And he's like, you promised to give me everything. It was like, kill me or take me in. That's what you said to me. You promised to give me everything. And Andor's like, I have given you everything. And he's like, this is your everything? Like losing it like this is your everything. Like so cool.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just testing how dedicated he is. And that's the problem with Luthen's cell. I mean, obviously in the end, it gets the information that the rebellion needs, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like in the very last episode or second to last episode, must be the second to last episode. He says something insightful to Dedra, where when she approaches him at the shop and he's like, the rebellion's not here anymore. It's flown away. And that means a couple of things, but it's not what he's doing anymore. It's beyond him.
Yeah.
And Cassian understands that at this point. Like that's the breaking point. He knows Luthen isn't the future of the rebellion. I need to get out while I can.
Yeah.
Type stuff. So
Luthen's cell is way cooler though.
Yeah.
Their missions are way sick.
Yes. I agree.
One thing I will just end here with episode 4 that I liked is they talk about there's the nerdy Senate talks and everything with Mon Mothma, and they say, I think they say port or PORD, I don't know, I have it spelled that way, with some kind of legislation that was passed, and they go, it was supposed to be temporary, not permanent, and they're referring to, I think it's something on Gorman, like basically for the reasoning to be, I can't remember, it was really deep.
Is PORD, is that the season 1 thing that got more people thrown into prison.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Because I remember when Cassian gets in and they're like, have you heard about this? And he's like, I haven't heard anything.
Yes.
And they're all like distraught because they're like, nobody knows about us. Nobody knows what's happening here.
Exactly. Yes. I think that's right. You double check that. It is funny to me because it also reminds me of today of like with what Trump is doing to kick out immigrants. I can't listen to this podcast and it was like, they're using an old law.
Yeah.
That wasn't meant for this, but they're saying, oh, this is what it's for. And this is why they're kicking out a bunch of immigrants. And it's like, wow, that's crazy that it's happening in real life, but also parallel to this.
Yeah.
This came out, I think that writing and everything happened way before. Which
that's
is crazy.
The craziest thing to me is like, man, Tony Gilroy is some kind of like, crystal ball reader or something. Because it is so relevant and it's terrible, whatever. Public order resentencing directive.
Yeah.
That's the PORD.
Where Cassian gets put in a way longer prison than he needed to. Yeah.
Yes.
And the last thing here I have is that Mon Mothma, when she's talking to other politicians, and it's like she's trying to cut a deal, like she's going through, like, oh, we need this. Can you vote on this? Like trying to get people. I'm listening to A Promised Land by Barack Obama.
Yeah.
That's what I love is like he talks about how all the things they do to get deals done, they'll just like add something or they'll cut something. Like it's just so much, which sucks for, just the fact that that's the way governments are ran. It's just you have to do all those things. And like, for example, this was the last thing I just listened to on the book where he talked about they were coming up on George Bush's like tax incentives were going to end that year. Barack Obama had a lot of things he wanted to push through, but he had lost the midterm election. They lost the House and the Senate.
Okay, yeah.
And so he's like, we're not going to be able to get anything passed. So right before the new seating happened, he was like, we got to get all this passed while we still have the majority. So he goes to Mitch McConnell. And he's like, look, I know you don't want Bush's thing to run out. I'll extend it for 2 years. He's like, which sucks because that means all these billionaires are still going to get tax breaks,
right.
All these things. He's like, it's for the greater good for us to get all these other things we want to get off. Which is just funny. It's just like crazy to me. Like, I mean, even in Star Wars, like you sacrifice things to get a deal through. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
That bipartisan, collaboration, which is less and less common today. Like, it sucks that that's how governments are run, but it's better than the alternative. Like
yeah, it's true. 100%.
That's the other thing. Last note on this episode.
Sure.
The main Gorman guy.
Let's get some names.
Komosama.
I guess we're gonna be talking about. What is his name?
I said Komosama.
Yeah, Komosama. He's a good guy.
But dude, do you know what else he's in? I watched the whole first episode and I was like, "What the hell is this guy in, dude?"
I don't know.
He is in Inglourious Bastards. He's like the first Nazi that they beat to death with a baseball
bat. Really?
Yeah. And I was like, man, when I finally realized who it was, I was so happy because it was just bothering me for an hour straight. But
that's my favorite. My favorite is when I can tell like they're in something. I just sit there and I like for 5 minutes and I get it like nice.
Yeah.
I figured it out. Or especially with voices, that's my favorite.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
When I'll hear a voice, I'm like, who is that? I know that voice.
You're good at that.
Part of my tism.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me get the names here, dude. Ever been to Gorman?
Ever been to Gorman? Okay. Episode 5. I have friends everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to scan through these because we both watched these episodes a couple weeks ago. So,
the main guy's name is Sick.
Dude, what the?
Why is it not here? Anyway, Enza is one of them. That's the girl, the daughter of the main guy. What are you looking for, buddy?
The name, but it's okay. Okay. Episode 5.
Is it Caro?
Maybe.
Is his real name Richard Samuel? Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What's his last name? It starts with an L. In the show, Caro Lance?
Rylance.
Rylance, okay. There we go. Caro Rylance. One note here.
Sure.
This episode, I used to really be bothered when people would swear in Star Wars. Because like in old Star Wars, and we've talked about this. In old Star Wars, yeah, it'd be like Nerf herder or Voodoo or like, McClunky, whatever. Stupid stuff like that. Which still has a place, and I love it. But I remember last season, the first shit ever uttered in Star Wars was on Morlon, or not on, it was on Ferrix. And we were like, well, man, that's like, genie's out of the bottle. And it really is. I noticed this time around watching it, because I'm watching this season for the second time. They're saying shit a couple times. They're saying ass. Like Stellan Skarsgård, Luthen Rael is like, yeah, if it'll get Rylance off his ass, just imagine how bad it is there. And it's like, just kind of funny.
Yeah.
That This show is.
They're just they're Star Wars guys.
Yeah, dude. It's just so mature and so gritty and dark now, bro. Okay, so Cyril's office gets raided by the ISB. Yeah. They're like, there's listening devices here. Dude, okay, here's the other thing. I've been watching, I watched this video essay, which sounds so stupid, but I do watch essays on YouTube. This guy was talking about like what makes a good conspiracy thriller, and Andor is a conspiracy thriller.
Okay.
And he talks about how you don't really need to draw clear lines for allegiances. Like part of the beauty of shows and movies that use conspiracy thriller aspects is that you don't know people's alliances and things like that, but there needs to be emotional weight behind it. I was really digging Cyril throughout all of this, throughout Gorman.
Yeah.
Because he's feeding information to the ISB.
Right.
But at the same time, he's like genuinely, he cares about Gorman.
Yes.
And so when he's meeting with them, there's something in the back of his mind of like, what am I doing here? Yada, yada. And then, so I just really digged that.
No, I agree. I really loved it because there were so many times I'm like, is this guy going to turn? Like, is he really with them? Like, I think the actor did, like, I mean, I guess they did everything so good that the whole time I was like, I can't really tell where his full allegiance is. Clearly he's with the Empire, but how much is he into it?
Yeah, and that adds an extra layer to when the Gormans are like, yeah, he's reliable. Like, we're in his head. We own him.
Yes.
And Andor is like, no, you don't.
Yeah, you have
no
idea.
The imps are really good at feeding false information. Like, he's playing you guys. And in the end, they're both kind of right. I mean, Andor's obviously more right because he is working with the ISB to take them over. But
which, I just loved that whole... I mean, we're going to get into it later, but I'll just get into it now because why not?
Yeah.
I just love that whole thing of he thinks they're trying to get a bigger player to come in.
Yeah.
So he thinks they're going to try to get Andor. Like, that's why the ISB is like, yeah, give him the fake information so some big player comes in and we can catch the guys that did Ferrix kind of a thing.
Right.
So that's what his whole thing is. And his girlfriend, Dedra's just lying to him the whole time.
Yeah.
And she doesn't fully know what they're doing either. She just thinks it's a part of the, what was it, initiative?
The energy initiative,
Energy. And I just love the layers of the lies they go through. I just loved it.
It's great.
So sweet.
Seriously. Then we find out that Luthen has planted a listening device in Scullin's personal art collection or antique collection. And our girl Clea is listening in on that. So that kind of sets off a time bomb. I'm just kind of scanning through this episode to see what happens.
This is also where we learned that Luthen, this is right before that when he finds out the listening device is when Luthen kind of breaks in a little bit. He's like, we have too much going on.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of crazy to see because this whole time he's someone we know has everything. He knows where everything is. He knows every play. And then it gets to a point like, we've grown too big. This is too much. Which is, leads into the rest of everything. That's awesome.
Exactly. We have lines and everything. And like, dude, this season, that's one thing I really liked about season 1 is the fleshed out relationship between Luthen and Clea.
Mm-hmm.
Because right there you see a seed planted for Luthen kind of not losing it, but getting frustrated with the system that they've set up and created. And he knows like they're overexposed. And you see Clea bite back and she's like, this was your idea. Like, stop it. Are you done?
Yeah.
Like, we are in control. We will solve it. We just have to do it. Like being the kind of level-headed one in that situation when Luthen always is the pragmatic and logical one. Which
is very true because she was more of just like, like this happened, whatever. We have to get it done.
Yeah, we're going to solve it. Yeah. We see Luthen confront Bix. We've already talked about that. On the side here, we're seeing Willman with Saw Gerrera's camp trying to figure out this thing for Rhydon. What is it called?
Ryan? Yeah, it's
the fuel. Anyway, and he's working with a guy who can't figure out the different combinations.
Rhydon or Rhydon?
Yeah, Rhydon. Okay. You're stressed out here because you know that Saw has like already had a threatening tone with Willman, so you're like, oh man. This part I didn't really care about, but I'm glad how it played into the bigger piece of everything. Like when it was happening, I was like, I don't really care if Willman dies. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Can you remind me who he was in season 1?
So he was the son of a shopkeeper. So Bix used a radio at a shopkeeper's yard, and he was friendly. The shopkeeper was friendly to Bix and Andor, and like had known them for forever. When Andor has to get off planet, it's that shopkeeper who helps them. Willman is that guy's son.
Okay.
And so when the ISB comes to Ferrix, they're interrogating him, and they interrogate him, and he dies. So Willman, the dad. So Willman builds a bomb that he then uses during the funeral parade on Ferrix.
Okay.
And kind of sets things into motion.
Okay.
So when they're escaping, it's Braco. What did I just say? Gosh, I'm so bad with names right now. Willman, Braco.
No, I think it's
Brasso. Brasso.
It's Brasso, yeah.
Bix, droid, BO.
B2EMO. I don't know what does he call them though? It's
B. They just say B.
B,
okay. Anyway, it's those 4 that get off planet together.
Okay.
Don't think I'm missing anybody. But yeah, so that's Willman.
Okay. Willman.
But anyway, yeah, like for me, that's not really enough to, endear me to the guy.
Yeah. And I also, I kind of like, there was one of those things where I pride myself in calling what I know it's about to happen.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was like, yeah, this guy's got to be the guy that was with Willman the whole time.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Like, he's got to be a scum something.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's why they shot it in the way they did, because there's a point where Saw Gerrera gives a coordinate. Like, he's like, well, you just got to tell me where we're going to be so I know. And he kind of says it, but the way he delivers the line is in a way where you're like, okay.
Yeah, you're
that's a fake little location.
Yeah, I agree.
But I did like that little tiny little arc, and it was cool.
Yeah, I agree. We also see Cassian checking into the hotel on Gorman. I really like that interaction with like the bag boy.
Oh yeah,
where he's like, dude, I'm just trying to, get your opinion on it. I'm just a designer. You can tell me what you want. And the guy kind of opens up about how his dad was killed when Tarkin landed his ship there. Gives us some context to the Gorman Massacre, the original Gorman Massacre.
Now remind me, the Gorman Massacre, that's mentioned in A New Hope, isn't it?
I think so. I know it's like precious to fans because when they talked, like something leaked that there was going to be a shootout on Gorman and people were upset. They were like, oh man, they're retconning the Gorman Massacre. It was so cool that Tarkin landed a ship. Like a regular shooting massacre isn't going to be as cool, yada yada. So I think it's mentioned in something. I was familiar, or I had heard of it, but not super familiar with it. So it
says here, the Gorman Massacre was first mentioned in the current Star Wars canon Forged in Battle, 2016 source book. I feel like it was bigger than that. But anyway.
I feel like that too. Whatever.
Well, that's what the internet tells me.
Well, season 1 might have talked about it.
Maybe it did.
Because I remember her talking about the Gormans a lot more. Especially with Mon Mothma, I should say, not her. Mm-hmm. Mon Mothma talks about it with Perrin at one dinner. She's like, she's upset about the guest list, and she's like, how would the Gormans feel about them being here? Yada yada. Okay. We see Cassian interact with the Gorman daughter, one of the resistance leaders at the restaurant. You talked about
Enza?
Cool. Yeah, Enza. Yeah. Hey, I'm just scrolling through here. Yeah. So if you have any other thoughts,
the end is just kind of, there was a cool shot, and it just stood out to me. Was the hyperspace where the X-wing was going to hyperspace, and you saw it from the outside, because usually we're in the ship when it happens. Yeah. It was like from the outside. I don't know. It looks awesome.
Okay, sick.
If you haven't watched Light and Magic on Disney Plus, one of the coolest documentaries I've ever watched. It goes into all the nitty gritty of how George Lucas's company, Industrial Light and Magic, did Star Wars: A New Hope, did all the Star Wars movies, and all the other movies they did, which I had no idea.
Yeah,
Pirates of the Caribbean, Transformers, they did like huge.
Oh
movies.
Yeah, they're in everything. Yeah,
I was thinking about it as a watcher. I was like, wow, Transformers to me was probably Star Wars for people when it first came out. Like I remember when I saw like the intricacies of the robots and everything, I was like, this looks so crazy good. And the fact that it was ILM that did it was crazy to me. Anyway.
That is crazy.
Give it a watch. Super sweet. But anyways, when I saw that scene with the ship, I was like, wow, was this a model? How did they, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they did bring models back into some of these stuff,
yeah.
So, I don't know. It's cool.
Very cool.
Give it a watch.
It's a great plug. I'll have to watch it.
It was really good. But then, I just have the Saw Gerrera.
I don't think it was from the Clone Wars. Yeah, he's talking about like being enslaved in the jungle.
Yeah, because that wasn't.
I don't think so. It might have been before we meet him in the Clone Wars. Could have been.
Yeah.
Well, because he said there were 300 or whatever men, 3,000 men, boys really. When we meet him in the Clone Wars, he's probably like early 20s. So
okay, so it must be
or 30s. But so it must have been before that.
And then I just like the ending when it plays into Saw Gerrera's craziness that he just breathes in the ride-on.
Yeah, crazy. It made me think more about like his mask in Rogue One. Mm-hmm. Is he breathing in Rito? or
Maybe.
oxygen because his lungs are effed up from the Rhino. One of the two.
Maybe both.
Maybe. But yeah, the rest of that episode is what we've already talked about. Cool interaction between Partagaz and kind of bringing Cyril into the plan for Gorman. And then also that interaction between Luthen and Clea, saying like, "Hey, we have too many lines out, whatever." Okay, so that's that episode.
Have you seen that fan theory that Clea is Cassian's sister?
I haven't seen that.
I think it was debunked pretty quickly, but I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. But people were like, maybe that's because like the scene you see with Luthen, fight, like, oh, were they there when they were killing everyone? But it was debunked pretty quick, so it's not. But I thought it was an interesting theory.
Yeah, because I think later in that sequence when she's like growing up, and we'll talk about this later because it's in a later episode, they're on Naboo for sure. So my theory was that he found her initially on Naboo.
Oh, really?
But then like their other interactions in those flashbacks don't look like Naboo, so I don't know. But yeah, that would be a cool theory.
Yeah, so episode 6.
What a festive evening.
And it was not.
Yeah, I really liked this one because we see, again, like through here, we see Andor come home. He talks to Bix. He's like, I was just with Luthen. Why didn't he mention that he talked to you? Like, he's just trying to get in my head. He's trying to get between us. And then he goes and approaches Luthen at the shop, which is like big no.
Yeah, don't do that.
Especially for Luthen. Like I love how offended Luthen gets every time somebody violates one of his rules. But like and this is pointed out by what's the ISB mole's name?
Oh, ginger-haired guy.
Yeah, we're gonna need to know it.
Yeah, he's Lonnie Jung.
Yeah, Lonnie. Great. It's pointed out by Lonnie later where he's like, or no, earlier in the season where he's like, you used to tell me, to wait longer. Now I can't let you wait. And Luthen gets upset with him. So anyway. Sorry, my brain's all over the place right now.
Yeah, it's a lot. We're going over. I realize how much we're going over.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things happen.
Trying not to take 4 hours either.
Try to keep it cute and sweet.
But so that interaction between Luthen and Andor, one of the most informative for how the rest of the series goes and how the rebellion goes, really.
Yeah.
Because it's that starting point of like the rebellion has moved beyond Luthen and his methods. That's where we're at.
And Cassian knows he's got to do something bigger than just little missions.
Exactly.
Sick missions, but nothing. Yeah. It's not going to take down the Empire.
Right.
Which is cool. I know you just see Cassian grow in that sense of like this. We got to move on. Like, thank you for getting my foot in the door, but it's kind of like a job if you really think about it. Like,
no, it's great.
Thanks for my first job. This is great, but I need something bigger.
Yeah.
And this is when the raid's happening, right? Where they're
yes. Okay. Yes. Dude, next thing I love, real quick. Sorry, I want to stop on this Partagaz thing. Luthen and Partagaz are probably my 2 favorite characters in this show. Sue me. I don't care.
Oh, sue him, guys.
But
his email will be posted right here below.
Yeah. Dude, the way Partagaz approaches every conversation is just so hilarious to me. Like, whoever that actor is just nails it every time. But I love when he goes up to Lonnie and our guy...
Hurt?
Yes, Hart.
Sorry about that.
Well, I can't remember how they pronounce it because they pronounce it British and American. But he's like, I need you to do this for me. And Hart's like, that would be an honor. And he's like, really? An honor? Calibrate your enthusiasm. It's an assignment. I just love that. Like, I need to find a way to use that at some point. Calibrate your enthusiasm.
Calibrate your dadgum enthusiasm, boy.
But he kills it. Then we see Cinta and Vel reunited on Gorman.
And it's hot.
They're kind of apologizing to each other, which didn't really, like, I get that every character has to have an arc, but, like, I love the badass, cold-hearted Cinta, where she's like, I'm in it for the rebellion. I don't care about anything else. But at the same time, I thought it was cool that she was like, yeah, I was in a bad place. I'm sorry for what I did. So
yeah. And then you're like, in that scene where they're like hashing it out, I'm like, one of these 2 girls is dying.
It's over.
Either Cinta's dying or Val's dying.
Yeah.
One of you 2 is gone. Too lovey for this to last, unfortunately.
Right. So we get them setting expectations with the Gormans before the raid. So you want to talk about the raid a little bit?
I love that whole everything that was happening because when Cinta and Vel come in and they're talking to him, they're like, "Okay, you do what we say. don't mess it up. Like if you like, basically, we've been here,
Mm-hmm.
we've done all this, like, and you guys are so green, you don't know what you're doing,
Right.
and they reemphasize so many things, and they push back on everything they say, and I just loved it because they're just like, no nonsense, like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And then they, of course, repeat, no guns. The only people we're gonna have it is me and Senta. Don't bring them. We're not planning on using them. It's gonna be quick and easy. Right. And of course, we know that it was not.
Not quick and easy.
And I did love the way I'm about to talk about when Senta dies. Spoiler, but I don't know if you had anything before that.
No.
I loved how she died because it's such like a sad, not ironic, but just like a sad, like, wow, that's how she went. She's done all these crazy things and literally meaningless.
Yeah.
Because you got in a little argument with one of the guys who was on your team.
Yeah.
And you whipped out a gun. And don't even get the person you're fighting against. She just catches a stray bullet for nothing. Literally nothing. I just thought, wow, that's poetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't know. I really thought they did that great. And then of course, Vel's, when she just goes at that guy, is
oh my gosh, that's
so
brutal.
good.
She's like, are you crying right now?
Yeah.
You're going to wear this for the rest of your life. It'll be like skin. You can't take it off.
And like, it's crazy because she's just so... Yeah, I think the whole the whole reality hasn't sunken. I can't talk onto her yet, so she's just very like kind of just so cold.
Yeah,
and I loved it.
Yeah,
so good,
so great.
Like, you killed her. Yeah, you did. Like, she doesn't sugar. Like, yeah, you killed her. That's on you. Yeah, the rest of your life. She's a great person.
It also goes back to what they were saying before. Like, we've been here before. Like, she understands how that feels to kill somebody and like to wear that for the rest of your life, to deal with that. And so I thought that was really interesting.
I loved it. I thought it was really great.
Dude, do we want to talk our Jimmy Smits recasting, Bail Organa?
Oh, yeah. I was taken. At first, I thought, oh, he lost a lot of weight. It was literally my first. Yeah. And then I looked closer. I'm like, oh, that is not my boy. So did you read into it at all?
I did, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Did you?
Because
you might have read something else. Like,
you tell me yours and I'll fill in if anything I saw.
Yeah, I just read that Tony Gilroy was like, it was literally impossible to make happen. Yeah. Like, Jimmy Smits has another show that he was filming and we just could not do it. Yeah. Which, when he first showed up for like 10 seconds in the episode, I was like, bro, make it happen. Like, do that in a reshoot. Sure, who cares? Yeah. But then he's much more involved later, which obviously I should have known. I was pretty disappointed. That's like, one thing for me, one character that I wanted to hit, because I'm like, I love Jimmy Smits, and he's been the character from the beginning. There was no Bail Organa that has not been Jimmy Smits. Yeah. From 2005, in Rogue One, in Ahsoka.
He's in Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, yes.
Is he in Ahsoka?
He's not in Ahsoka.
Because he would have died by then.
Yeah. But anyway, he's always been it. I think in the Clone Wars, he voiced him as well.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong. But anyway,
yeah,
that's Jimmy Smits' character.
Yeah.
So that was like, man, that kind of sucks. It's hard to see it that way, but whatever.
I mean, it's hard, especially because in Star Wars, that's one thing that they do so good is they keep the person they have is who they have.
Yeah.
Like, to the end.
Even like in the very last episode where we see the other people on the Rebellion Council, those are the same people from Rogue One. And it's like, you can get those guys back 10 years later that had 3 lines in the movie, like whatever. But I totally understand it. I'm not saying like that sucks, but it does suck.
Well, even more so, it's like, let's go back to Tarkin in Rogue One. They CGI'd the guy because they didn't want to recast him, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But maybe this is good for Star Wars. Maybe we'll open up a door to maybe not do.
That's a great point.
De-aging and all that. Like with, I almost said George Skywalker. You know?
Yeah, George Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
How with Mark Hamill they did because that guy who played him looked
just like him.
Yeah, would have been fine.
Would have been fine.
Didn't he spend? Because I would have rather you not spend millions of dollars on that and put that into something else.
Exactly, and that's one of the things. Like, apparently, I don't know Kathleen Kennedy personally, not yet. But that's one thing that people always say is like she cited that recasting the Aldrin Eldrick Han Solo recasting as a reason that it failed. So she was like, we'll never do a recast again.
That's where it all failed. And
that's why they cut like the Lando show. They still say that's in production, but that's not happening, and all that other stuff. Like, they're just not recasting ever again. So yeah, I think you're right that it opens up a better door than where we were going.
Yeah, just sucks to have Nora Boy. One thing though that you just said, I didn't realize Kathleen Kennedy had been in the Star Wars universe so early on.
Oh yeah, 2012. She was when George sold. He was like, she's the president. Make her the leader. Yeah,
because she was like around. She worked with Spielberg and like she worked really closely with. I didn't know that. I had no idea she had that type of connection with George, which makes sense of why he pushed for it at the end.
Right.
I didn't know that though.
She was like married to. Not that this is why she has her job.
No, it sounds like
she slept her way to the top. No, she was like married to one of his close friends, so she literally has been there from the beginning, like since the turn of the century, I think.
Which is crazy.
Okay, so all of that stuff at Skolden's party, or whatever party that is, where Clea is like flirting with Lonnie and she has to remove the listening device. The tension there with Krennic in the room and him like biting back at Mon Mothma, that really worked for me, dude.
Loved it.
I love Ben Mendelsohn, the guy who plays Krennic.
Yeah.
And he's kind of dialing it up in a lot of these shots that he has, and it really, really works for me. I just loved that scene where they're just going back and forth at each other.
Yeah, that scene's so good, and the tension. Oh,
yeah,
it's so great. The next things I have here about Dr.
Okay, yep, that's where I'm at.
Okay, loved it. It took me by surprise that we just kind of jumped there because I didn't know that's where we were heading.
Yeah,
which I liked. I was just like, oh, we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess looking back, it makes sense. I mean, we've been alluding to this whole time that's going on with the Bix and our nightmares. But I gotta say, I absolutely loved when he's screaming. And there's just no audio.
Yeah.
And she puts it on his head, and he's just yelling, and it's just pure silence from a long shot. Loved it.
Yeah. It's just like the first time that thing gets put on Bix, you don't hear it. You hear the drill that they're using in the prison.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's an awesome cut.
Yeah.
You know, I loved that too. And I had some questions about this, and I'm like, am I just too stupid? I didn't realize it. Because you're right. It was getting kind of telegraphed that that's where we were going. This is like taking the drugs to deal with the pain and the dreams. And Luthen is like, you know, it only fixes it for so long. So you know that she has to resolve it by killing Gorst. But I'm like, who greenlit that mission? Is that like a side thing that Andor and her did? Or is Luthen like... I don't think Luthen made that happen. I don't know.
But do you remember that she says the light's on?
Right.
The tower's going off.
Oh, and that's the next thing they do.
And then that's the next thing that happens. So I think it is green.
Okay, cool.
Because the last thing, that's why I got confused. I'll need to rewatch it unless you have it.
I've got it pulled up. Let me.
I remember them sitting there looking, and she's up at night, and she's like, the light's on. And then something else happens on Gorman, and then we cut back to this happening at the end.
Okay, so she's currently taking drugs. The light's on. She's like, I don't care what it is. I'm going with you.
That's right.
And then
I think we're just thrown straight into that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Later on.
You're right.
So yeah.
So that's exactly. So Luthen set that up.
Yeah, which is sweet.
Now I need to go back and rewatch and see what Luthen's last conversation with Andor was when Andor approaches him at the shop. So maybe he's like, "This is what I'm doing for you."
Yeah.
Maybe it like actually hit him. I didn't catch that the first time, so I need to rewatch that. Okay, great grab.
I do love. One thing I did like is that this whole time we've been seeing Dr. Gorse, he's been a nightmare or a flashback. So we are left wondering in the very beginning, is this real?
Exactly.
But I love that. Like, what's this going on?
Because it's so over the top. Like he's there and she's just standing in the corner. Yes. I was like, this is definitely a dream. Right. But then when she puts the thing on him, I was like, oh, this is legit. Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
And you get the classic ending where they just walk away with the blown up building.
In the background. That was a trailer shot. Okay. Episode 7. We're done with the second arc. We're going into the third arc. 1 year later. Episode 7, Messenger. Okay. We open up to... Sorry, I got to get past the recap. Okay, we're on Yavin. The base is set.
Wait, that was Yavin?
Yeah. We see Cassian and Bix living on Yavin. Cassian is dealing with a shoulder injury. Yada, yada. Wilman comes back. And Cassian is like, where have you been? And he's like, he will not answer.
Yeah.
He's like, Luthen wants you to come back to work. And so we see now that like how frayed their relationship is, where they haven't talked at all. Luthen doesn't know anything about Cassian, but he needs him back. So that's great and insightful. Go back to Gorman. Okay, do you have any notes on this? I'm just kind of scanning through.
This episode, not a lot of notes. Okay. So one thing we see is just how big the rebellion has gotten.
Yeah.
We know where it's more formalized. We're finally at the point of where we're recognizing that Yavin 4 is the central base for everything. One thing I do love is the they just talk about how there's terrorism in Gorman,
Mm-hmm.
and in reality, it's just not happening. It's just
Yeah.
they're just lying.
Yeah.
To push the propaganda, like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I just love that idea of just the Empire, like, yeah, they're blowing up buildings over here. I haven't done anything, but they're trying to push, like, yeah, these guys are fighting, so we're gonna have to do something. And so when they finally do attack, they're like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I love.
I like the way that like the media is portrayed in that, where they're like you said, it's all sensational, and they're like, this is going on here. We don't know, responsibility for this attack, and like all around them, it's so calm. Nothing's really going on, like you're saying. It's like it just goes to show how they control that propaganda. We also see Cyril like kind of starting to lose it. He confronts Dedra, and he's like, I want out. This isn't how it's been. This isn't what you've told me it's going to be like. And she just like kisses him. She keeps him. She's a spider, like the Gorlectopod.
Sure.
Keeps him in her web. So
one thing I do love is that Cyril in his life, he's had these two strong, independent women.
Yeah.
Who both have full control over him.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
He thinks, I mean, with his mom, he doesn't really think he has any freedom. He's just kind of like, But with Dedra, he has this false sense of freedom, like a false idea of like, I know what I'm doing. This is, but in reality, it's all controlled.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy.
Great observation. I love that.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, like you said, I don't have a lot of notes here either. We get to the Jedi Force Healer, or not the Jedi, the Force Healer. And I thought that was very tasteful for a show that we've praised for not leaning on the Jedi or the Force or yada yada. Yeah. I think it goes a very long way in introducing how the Force ties all of this together and how it will drive us into Rogue One and then into A New Hope, where we're relying so heavily on the Force and a Jedi to come save us. So I think that was really well done.
I also love it because it's like we still get that, like Han Solo in A New Hope talks about how it's just an ancient, wacky religion.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, Cassian's kind of like, he's like, no, we don't trust him. I don't like him because of, what's his mom's name? Marva. She didn't trust him. So he's got this kind of like, these guys are whacks.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I think that's like showing where Jedis or the Force is right now in this galaxy. It's only been, 30 years?
This has been, this has been 18, 17 years.
Which is crazy that they've done that. The Empire was able to totally just take that out of people's lives and minds.
But yeah, it all goes back to that same propaganda. Like we see that they have a very efficient propaganda machine.
It's true.
They can make everybody forget that the Jedi ever existed or that they were ever, so prevalent in the galaxy. And for somebody like Cassian, he's never seen a Jedi.
Yeah.
He didn't grow up on Coruscant.
Yeah.
That is totally foreign to him.
I also like one thing I do love about this episode is just the idea of an assassination in Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
I just thought that was so sweet.
Yeah.
Like that's what they're planning on doing. So he's scoping it out. I just thought it was sweet.
Very cool.
And we also, I think it's the next episode where he sees the next episode where he sees the guy, the bag boy who's now running the front desk.
Yes, I believe that's the next episode. Okay, no, it is this episode.
Which is cool. Just a cool tie-in.
Yeah, Bag Boy remembers him, and it's kind of like covering for him. And then we get that opening where he gets the super cool spy break apart gun.
Which I was gonna say, was that make you a little wet?
Dude, yeah, I'm loving that.
That is sweet. Just steal this little gun.
Yeah, I need that. Okay.
One thing I will say, so we're going to episode 8, right?
Episode 8. Let's jump into it. Unless you've got something on 7.
You can start going there. I'm going to just talk about something that made me very mad. I mean, we have our stance with the sequels. It's just they are what they are. I'm not gonna hurt everyone. It's easy to hate on them, but one thing that does just hurt is you see all this planning, all this stuff go into how they take down the Empire, and for it to just come back,
all for nothing.
It hurts because it's like it just makes us all feel pointless.
Yeah,
because like. If we end it right there, on Return of the Jedi, it makes everything feel so rewarding. Like, yes. And then for the sequels for that to happen, like, oh man, it's just all for nothing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. That kind of broke my heart when I was watching these episodes. I was like, that sucks.
No, it's such a shame. It's so annoying. I hate it. I completely agree with you. I did see some other people kind of jokingly, but in a similar vein, talk about like how it's funny that all this spy stuff is done to get all of these plans, and then a stupid like farm boy and a smuggler come in and, within a day they solve everything. But like
that's true.
That's how it happens in the real world. Like you have to have those people who go out and get intel and like do the real legwork, and then people who come in and execute.
Yeah.
Like that's the real world. And it's also just a cool thing in Star Wars that like shows it really was the will of the Force. It really was a prophecy that a chosen one would come and restore balance to the Force. And so like, I think it totally works. And it's not like Clea or Luthen or anybody would want to be there at the end of A New Hope, standing in front of all of these rebels getting their medals. Like that's just not how they roll.
Yeah, they were not. They were more, I don't want the glory. I just
exactly. So I couldn't tell if that was more joking or like if people were serious about how whatever. But it works for me completely. So
it works for me too.
Okay, perfect. Good. Glad we agree.
So that happens in episode 8.
Okay.
Stir me in here.
We're on Gorman. Things are heating up. They're starting to fill the square. Oh, this is one thing I really liked. So Rylance sees Cyril. This is a year later after Cyril set them up for failure with everything. And what does Cyril say? Jeez, it's something like...
He says, boo, 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 boo.
He says, to me, you've destroyed us. And Cyril's like, I was here to trap outside agitators. And Rylance is like, look at you. Even now, sorry, I'm reading that. People know what you're doing. We've had reports all night, yada, yada. So he is like, Cyril, you're lying to me. Like, it's so clear that you're lying to me. But Cyril still believes this. Like, he's been fooled. And Rylance can see through it, but Cyril still can't. Yeah. And so I thought that interaction was so cool.
Which is just so funny to me that, like, that's how hell-bent he was on getting Cassian.
Yeah.
That he doesn't even see that he's being played. He's just a pawn.
Right.
Which, of course, that triggers him to be like, well, am I getting played?
Yeah.
Which is, it's just done so well. The show just does so many things well, but it's not like an in-your-face thing. It's like such a subtle, like, wait a minute. Like, that just seeded doubt. It was like, well, no, let me think. And that plays into the rest of the events that unfold.
Exactly.
So sweet.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Most of my one note was like, not my one note. One of my notes was that I love the idea of Cyril just getting played and not even realizing it.
Yeah.
He just has no idea.
Great. I don't really have a ton. Like, obviously, things heat up here.
Right.
I did like
very important episode. But...
Yeah. I like the tactical commander that they send in. He's got a big scar on his face. And I know it's easy to say that, like, the Empire is like space Nazis, whatever. But this is something that's interesting in history. I remember seeing this forever ago. And maybe this is not what they were going for at all. But in World War I, and it obviously continued into World War II, German officers were like very proud of fencing scars that they received. So like if you look at a picture of a German officer during World War I, they all have like fencing face, like mutilated faces. Yeah. And it was like a mark of pride. And so I think it's cool that this guy has like a very big prominent face scar. Don't know what it's from or what they were going for, but that just reminded me of that.
I like that.
And it could be World War II. I could be misspeaking. I could not even know what I'm talking about. But
could be a lie, dude.
That's something.
Fake news.
Okay, but we see the Gormans really heating up here in the plaza, right?
Yep. A little French Revolution going on.
I love that like Andor keeps seeing Dedra. And he's like, he's got that shot, but it's just for a second, just building the tension.
Yes.
Again, they're masters of tension here. Cyril walks in, sees the K2 droids, the security droids. I thought that was cool. And obviously the one that's like staring at him is probably K2SO.
I do love one thing on this episode was going on. I'm like, okay, Dedra or Cyril's gonna die.
Yeah,
I remember that was in my mind. I was pretty convinced Dedra.
Oh, me too.
I was like, I don't think they're gonna do a fake out. I think he's just gonna take her out.
Yeah, same.
Which would have been sick. I do love. Yes, the next part I have here is kind of the insurrection when they start just going bananas.
Right.
But I love the idea of just the Empire. Like I feel like the Empire didn't need to kill one of them. I think they would have. Do you think? Well, I guess what do you think? Do you think the Gormans would have gone to violence, or do you think the Empire did have to kill one of them for the violence to start?
Because the Empire intentionally kills one of their own.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry, one of their own. So that it starts. So they start shooting to kill them. So I guess that makes sense. But I feel like the Gorman. I feel like one of them would have done at least something. Yeah.
Well, yes, I think it probably would have evolved to that. And this is really interesting because one, that happens in real life. Like when people joke about Bush doing 9/11, like that's what they're talking about. It's called the false flag attack, when you attack yourself to give you a pretense to attack an enemy that you've created.
Or you just attack a country that didn't.
Yeah, exactly. But so I think that's cool. But also, Dedra has learned, like this is all following a playbook that she saw on Ferrix, right? Same thing, mounting tensions. They send in like riot control groups to manage the situation at a plaza area, and then that's when Willman throws a bomb and gets everything started.
Right.
And so she knows that attacking the Empire like that is a catalyst and an excuse to use deadly force on a protesting people.
Right.
Firsthand, she saw that, and so it's interesting that they use it here too. And so I think I really liked that. Maybe it wasn't necessary, but I liked that they had to kill one of their own.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was so sweet when they did it. I was like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I guess we skipped this part. I didn't realize. I love when Cyril finally snaps.
Yeah.
And he just chokes out Dedra.
Yeah.
Like, tell me, what is going on? Tell me right now. You're like, well, it feels so out of character, but kind of going back to his mom always controlling him. There's probably this subconscious thing of just like, just quit playing me. Just let me be myself.
Right.
Like, I can do my own thing. I don't know. It was so crazy when he started choking. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy. I saw this tweet that was like, oh, great, another excuse to show violence against women. And it's like, are you stupid? Like, they are the bad guys. Of course they're going to be violent against women. Like, it goes back to what we were saying about the Bix rape earlier in the season, where it's like, people were upset about that. They were like, that's not really, like, obviously Star Wars Theory, a big YouTube personality, bigger than us, apparently. Said he wasn't going to keep watching Andor because he's like, Vader wouldn't approve of one of his officers doing that. And it's like, dude, you're missing the point. Like, yes, you would. Like, it's
so big that they're just doing whatever they want.
Exactly.
Like,
and Vader choked his own wife to death, bro.
Yeah,
like, are you stupid? Anyway.
Yeah, that is crazy because I don't know. It also is a silly argument because it's like, things can happen in organizations where they're totally against it, but someone can go do whatever they want.
Exactly.
Like, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have control of that.
Right.
I don't know. It's crazy.
And like, to your point, like it's just Cyril snapping. It's not representative of like a bigger thing. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but it's like just a guy genuinely realizing that he's been manipulated his entire life, taking it out on a person and trying to kill them. Yeah. So yeah, not that I loved seeing a chick get choked out, whatever. Oh, but I love that. It worked for me.
I really, and then, yeah, everything ensues. It gets crazy. I love seeing the K2 units just batter people, dude.
Just throwing them, kicking them.
When what's her name? The daughter. When she gets thrown, I didn't think she'd be dead.
Yeah.
And she just snapped. I was like, oh wow. Yeah. I didn't think it'd be going like that. I don't know. It's just like, and like the horror of watching someone you love just hopelessly you can't do anything.
Right.
I think it was her boyfriend or whatever. They seemed like they had some sort of love interest. Just watches it. He's like, I don't know, like that. I don't know, that hit hard for me. I was like, that's crazy. I just think that whole scene is done so well. Just everything, the chaos.
Works so well.
And then we finally get to Cassian about to get the shot. We're ready for it, and that's when it gets clobbered by Cyril.
Yeah.
I love that fight scene.
Yeah.
I guess I was watching a thing. They rehearsed it a bunch.
Okay. Cool.
So they were like really wanted to get it done well, and it's crazy because we really do forget that like they had that encounter, but now this whole years have gone by. Mm-hmm. They haven't seen each other, and I just love when Cassian says, "Who are you?"
I love that. Yeah.
I was like,
I don't even know who you are.
That had to have killed Cyril.
Absolutely. Yeah.
His whole mission, his whole life is to like get you down, and for someone like, I don't even know who you are, would be like, whoa, my whole life's a waste. And
it's a beautiful inverse because for Cyril, it's Cassian. For Dedra, it's Axis or Luthen. Mm-hmm. Those are their obsessions. And it's so funny that Cassian is like, who are you? I don't know who you are. But then later when Dedra approaches Luthen and finally like goes face to face with him, she was like, I didn't know who you were until now. And he's like, well, that's not fair. I've known you all along. Like I knew everything about you.
Yeah.
And just the inverse of that is awesome.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, that totally worked for me. Who are you? I don't know who you are. And then dude gets blicked
yep.
in the back of the head.
Yeah, that was just so good. And the one thing I was thinking is it's kind of funny that now it's kind of flipped from what happened on Ferrix, that he isn't attacking the people. Cyril isn't. He's now I think at this point his heart is for the Gormans.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now he gets the inverse of that. Now he's like, oh, the Empire's killing just ran like he was on the other side. Now he flips it. I don't know.
Right, he's a victim now. Yeah.
And I did love the scenes where the snipers were taking people out in the building.
Yeah, crazy. You like that? You'd like to do that?
Listen, I guess I do because I was just like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah. Dude, let's go shooting one of these days,
Hey,
bro.
dude.
I got a sniper rifle. You know that.
You got a sniper rifle?
I sure do.
I'd love to take her out first.
Okay, let's go do it, bro.
Okay. Let's get out of here.
Okay.
Thank you for being a disciple.
Yeah. Okay. So very cool.
Yeah. I think...
Oh, we also
Yeah,
there's
ahead,
a K2 droid or a Imperial security droid, I think they're called, whatever. About to attack someone. Cassian or somebody hits it. No, Cassian is about to get killed by the security droid. Somebody hits it with a truck, one of the Gorman front, and then Cassian takes him home for no reason. Some of that felt a little. Oh, I'll get into that. That's one of my complaints. Is like the K2 stuff. I was like, "What are we doing?" Anyway,
really.
And
I'm excited to talk
for a
about
bigger reason, because at the end of so that's episode 8.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Let's hop into episode 9, and then I'll talk more about my complaints with K2. And they're not very big. Like it's it's whatever. Okay, episode 9, Rebellion. Okay.
Bienvenido
a la rebelión. How do you say rebellion in Spanish?
I don't know, but question for you. I am really curious about this, and I know you're a nerd, so you can help me. Why in Spain are there some Spanish words that have an apostrophe almost like French? I've never seen that, like in the middle of the word like French does. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Like, I'm thinking of like Cortés, where they have in Latin Spanish, there's no accents in that word, but in Spanish, there's an accent over the O and the E.
No, sorry, like literally like an apostrophe, like we talk, like that's like it's like
an apostrophe that splits the word.
Yeah, like but the word stays the same, but it's split. I don't know what. Sorry, it's not.
Well, technically, they're two different languages. They're
Castellan and
Castellan and Spanish, which is a whole nother thing. So language is really loose by definition.
Okay.
So a lot of people define language by something being mutually intelligible, whereas that's not always the case. For example, like Arabic, most of the like North Africa and the Middle East or Southwest Asia, they all speak Arabic, right? But they're not mutually intelligible. You couldn't take somebody from Morocco and put them in Afghanistan, and they could not talk to each other.
Really?
They all read Arabic from the Quran, and they all understand it, apparently, but they don't speak the same language, even though they both speak Arabic.
That's fascinating.
That doesn't go very far in explaining it, but I think some of those things, it's like, there's not a hard marker on why they're different. They're just used differently.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I was like, I literally was reading a sign. I'm like, it's not French because every word is Spanish except for this word, but it's not a French word.
Well, there's also, I know, like you were in Barcelona. I know there's Basque on a lot of signs. Basque is a whole different language.
Maybe
same thing.
That might be it.
So there's different Iberian languages. So there's Galician or Portuguese. There's Castellan. There's Basque. There's Andalusian.
Isn't that what they speak in Harry Potter, Basque?
Harry Potter, I'm sorry. That joke probably would have killed. I just don't know.
No, they actually wouldn't because it's Parseltongue, but there's I think the snake is a Basque or something.
Oh, it's a basilisk.
That was my joke.
Okay, that's great. But no, there's like 5 languages in the Iberian Peninsula, and they're used sometimes interchangeably. Obviously, Castellan is the major one, and Portuguese is the secondary one. But then Basque is a minority language that they're trying to revive. And then there's 2 or 3 smaller ones.
Interesting.
But anyway, they're all kind of, you can, like I was, believe it or not, today, I was on Duolingo trying to learn Basque.
Really?
And it is very interesting where like Agua is right on the line between France and Spain. So it makes sense that there's some overlap. So it could have been Basque. I don't know.
I love it. Well, our new podcast is just going to be about languages.
Yeah, we're going to talk languages in the new pod, bro.
I don't know. Okay. Thank you. What are we doing? 9?
Yeah, episode 9. Okay. So welcome to the Rebellion. Okay. This was great. This was one of my favorite episodes. This is when Mon Mothma is planning. I'm going to leave a final statement, and these different rebel cells are like, we got to get Mon Mothma out after this because she's dead if this goes through.
I don't remember the beginning. I can only remember the end.
So the beginning is the Gorman senator getting like hauled away by stormtroopers, and she's like stressing out. Bale comes up to her and he's like, "You need to go to Yavin. I need to stay here. I have people who will get you off world and get you to Yavin if you want to deliver this address, but it has to happen now," type thing. Kind of scrolling through, and obviously like the ISB is ramping up. There's a lot more focus on the Senate. Man, this episode really worked for me. I wish I would have. I'm on episode 7 of my rewatch, so I'm gonna really enjoy this. Because what happened was I didn't want to watch any of Andor on my iPad or on the plane.
I get it.
So I waited until I got home, but then just binged.
Yeah.
What was that? 8, 9 hours? Almost. So like 7 hours of Andor when I got home. So I was jet lagged and like not the best environment. But anyway.
Yeah. But I get that because there was points where I was like, man, I wish I was not watching this on such a tiny screen.
Okay, so we see this is the reason Andor has to come back, is to pull Mothma off world, because Luthen doesn't trust Bale's people, or maybe he knows there's a leak.
He knows there's they know someone is a foul play. Yeah, because I remember her monologue was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So fun fact, actually, I was watching you should watch the behind the scenes on YouTube.
Okay.
They go through all the arcs.
You sent that to me. I need to watch that.
They're really good. Or do you want me to just give you parts and that will just like, I'll give you lines, like 5 lines that we're just going to use, or do you want me to write you a whole monologue? And she's like, use the whole give me a whole monologue and cut what you want.
Right.
And so she reads the whole thing, which is just really cool that it wasn't just like just say these lines. Yeah. These lines will be important. It's like it's a literal monologue that she reads and he uses and he cuts what he wants.
Gosh, that's so sick.
So sweet.
Yeah. Again, going back to how relevant these things are. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just going to, as I play it, I'm just going to read what she says.
I love that. Can you sing it?
She says, fellow senators, friends, colleagues, allies, adversaries. Okay. And I stand before you this morning with a heavy heart. This is right after Gorman.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I've spent my life in this chamber. It's cutting between. I came here as a child, and as I look around me now, I realize I have almost no memories that predate my arrival, and few bonds of affection that cleave so tightly. Maybe this wasn't a good idea because it's kind of slow. There's like swelling music. Right. Through these many years, I believe I've served my constituents honorably and upheld our code of conduct. We're seeing like the team that's supposed to extract her, and she says this chamber is a cauldron of opinions. We've certainly all had our patience and tempers tested in pursuit of our ideals. Whatever. Okay, I'm not going to keep reading. Disagree as we might, I'm hopeful that those of you who know me will vouch for my credibility in the days to come. So basically, as the tension ramps up, we see Andor kind of going to try to start extracting her, and this other team with an embedded ISB agent doing the same.
One thing, sorry, real quick,
I
just remember that I love is the nerdiness of how she's able to speak, because they're like, hey, we have word that someone's gonna out. You know, he's like, no, this skit's been set. It's not gonna happen. We know who's talking, and they use these little tricks.
Yeah, these laws. Yeah,
so she could talk. Which I just like love it. It's just such a small thing. I do have the whole thing right here, the transcript.
Okay, if you want to read it, because
what did you take off at?
Okay, so really, when she gets to the point that where she says the chasm or the something between what is said and what is true, or what is known to be true, has become an abyss.
Okay, I just saw that. Okay, here we go. I believe we are in crisis. The distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss. Of all things at risk, the loss of an objective reality is perhaps the most dangerous. The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. When truth leaves us, when we let it slip away, when it is ripped from our hands, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. Sick line.
Yeah.
This chamber's hold on the truth was finally lost on Gorman Plaza. What took place yesterday, what happened yesterday on Gorman, was unprovoked genocide. Yes, genocide. And the truth has been exiled from this chamber. And the monster screaming the loudest, the monster we've helped create, the monster who will come for us all soon enough, is Emperor Palpatine.
Yes.
So sick.
Just killer, dude. I loved that. I had just gotten back from Geneva, where we visited organizations like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, UNAIDS, the Red Cross, things like that, which are all
Scams.
large, which are all large non-government organizations. Okay. And a central theme, because earlier this year, Donald Trump, your buddy, not mine, and I won't talk politics on this.
My big buddy.
He pulled out of the World Health Organization for the first time in its history since 1948. The U.S. pulled out of the World Health Organization, cut all their funding, yada, yada. And so we're in this uncomfortable position where we're a group of Americans sitting there in front of this, we're getting presented to by French people, by Swiss people, by Indian people. And it's like, they're talking to us and they're like, yeah, I probably won't have a job next year. And like all of these great programs we've told you about, they don't exist anymore. Anyway, but one of the ladies who talked to us was the head of communications for the World Health Organization. And she talked about how the lack of objective truth is seriously a huge detriment to global health. Like how many hundreds of thousands of people have died because there is no objective truth in the world anymore. And like that resonated with me as I just come home. Mm-hmm. And like she talked about during COVID when she was in the same position, she would wake up every day, see what Donald Trump had tweeted, and like scramble to get an official statement for the World Health Organization to put out the fire that he had started. And Donald Trump is not the only person doing this. Like there is a general lack of objective truth in our world today. And it's like, you walk out of any political interaction with anybody, or even just like moral interaction, and it's like there are two sides to everything, or three sides to everything. There's his side, my side, and the truth, and that truth is gone. So we just have our two sides that are fighting, and it's terrible.
It's
and
crazy.
So like that hit me hard, and I think it's incredibly relevant, and that was awesome.
That's really deep.
Sure, bro.
I mean, it's true. It does really apply. That's kind of sad that, like, as you were talking, I was like, yeah, there's not a single topic I could say that everyone's like, yeah, that's bad. Like, even nowadays, it's like you talk about something like slavery, there's still, now there's crazy right wings are like, well, I mean, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? How do we get to this point where it's like, no, that should be an objective? Now, of course, that's a small sect, I know. Well, most people don't feel that way.
Something bigger, like when we were growing up, Nazis were the bad guys. Like, Nazis suck. It's okay. Everybody hates Nazis. Yeah. It's not the case anymore.
It's crazy.
Like, I was talking to somebody I consider a friend not too long ago, and he's like, but dude, I was watching this documentary, and they had a few things figured out. And I'm like, no, they didn't, dude. Like, they did not. But it's like, that's where we are now. That's genuinely. And it's just terrible.
Good life we live, huh?
Yeah. But anyway, so that scene just really, really worked for me.
Oh, it's so good.
And this is like the turning point of the show where we're not pulling punches anymore. Yeah. Cassian is in the Senate chamber, like killing people to get her out. Like,
so sick.
So sick.
Oh, so sick.
The rebellion is like alive and, well, not alive and well. It's naked. It's all out in the open now.
Yeah.
There's no going back.
And one thing I love is, I mean, it's the episode is Welcome to the Rebellion.
Yeah.
I just love that Mon Mothma, she's been fighting for this thing, but she has no idea what it takes.
Right.
When Cassian's killing people, she's so freaked out. She just, like, it's like that whole thing, she knew what was going on, but it was like she was apart from it.
It's a great point, yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know, think about like, what song was I listening to the other day? I think it's Black Sabbath, War Pigs. And he talks about how senators sit in their comfy home while young men go fight the wars. Like, they're so detached from what's happening, it doesn't faze them. So, like, yeah, send more men. We don't care. Keep going. But it's like, that's something that's really happening. People are dying. And so now she's seeing it firsthand. She's like spooked. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I loved it.
But this is also like a great catalyst for who she becomes as a character. Like, she knows now what the sacrifice is. She's sacrificed her personal life of luxury and comfort. Mm-hmm. And she's been doing that for years.
Yeah.
But now she's seeing what it really takes, like you said.
Yeah.
That also reminds me of, like, have you ever seen that thing that was suggested, and it was never a serious suggestion, but it was suggested by some, like, philosopher or something, that the nuclear launch code should be housed within the heart of a person that was always with the president. And so to launch nukes, the president would physically have to kill somebody. That's and it's deep. Like, that would keep it from ever happening because the president couldn't do that, whatever. But I was just thinking of that when you were talking about the Black Sabbath thing. Okay, so Mon gets back to the safe house. They get her off world to Yavin.
One thing I didn't understand is why... Oh, no, it does make sense, sorry. I just thought it was funny that, like, they thought Cassian was upset that he wasn't going to get recognition, but you could tell the whole time he didn't really care.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He was like, we saw it. We just can't. It's just, we want it to be a bigger thing when she comes to boost morale. He's like, yeah, whatever.
I don't care. Yeah.
Which is just plays into his character, which I love.
Yeah. Final note I have on this episode. We get back to Yavin. Cassian is like, I'm done. That was my last thing for the rebellion. Like, let's get out. Let's live our lives together. And dude, as he's talking, I'm like, Bix is gone. Yeah. She's leaving him. Because Bix isn't there in Rogue One, so I always thought Bix is dying for sure.
For sure.
But then I was like, man, it's worse. Like, she's just going to leave him. He wakes up the next day, she's gone. She's left a note saying, like, for the rebellion and for everything, like, I'm leaving you so that you can focus on this. Which is crazy, dude. Like, I was crying. I was bawling. I was like, I can't.
And it all goes back to that Force healer, right? That she's like, you know. He's
a messenger.
Yeah, and I, like I said earlier in the episode, I pride myself in saying something. That one took me totally off guard because I could tell she was off.
Right.
When he was talking about it, I'm like, she just doesn't want to do that. She wants to keep fighting. And so I was still thinking in my head, we're going to see her die.
Right.
Was not expecting her to just be gone.
She's just gone.
I was like, oh, that sucks so bad.
Brutal. Okay. Here's my note about K2.
Yeah.
This, like, we just see this crazy thing go down with Mon Mothma. We see Bix leave Cassian's life.
Yeah.
In a panic, he runs out of his house.
Yeah.
He's like sprinting to find Bix. I'm crying.
Right.
I need the episode to cut off right there.
Yeah, when he runs out to the platform and he's looking. Yeah. Where is she?
Instead, somebody comes up and they're like, hey, they're activating this droid. Cassian forgets that the love of his life is gone, and he just goes and activates this droid. Dumb as hell. Seriously, that's my only complaint in all of Andor. I'm like, that shit sucks, bro.
That is probably the only. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I think that could have somehow been pulled in earlier before we get to Bix. Like, don't end the episode there. Because I thought the same leaves.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we know he's there. It's fine. I agree.
I was so upset. Like, I'm crying and I'm like, don't. Like, the guy comes over and he's like, they're activating the droid. And I was like, don't do this right now. Yeah. You're not going to do this. And then they show it and it's like a 2-second thing. Who cares?
Yeah.
Gosh, I was so mad.
He's like, okay, let me go over here. I guess whatever.
Guess my bitch is gone. Whatever. That's life. So that's my only complaint of the whole series.
I agree.
I'm done.
I think that is the only thing they messed up.
Yeah.
I genuinely agree.
Genuinely, it was like, so, okay, whatever. That's episode 9. Welcome to the rebellion.
Oh, also, this is just a total side thing. When Bix has no makeup on, gosh, so pretty.
Yeah.
I just loved that.
It's my girl.
Anyways, that was it.
Yeah. Okay. Episode 10, Make It Stop.
Make it
stop.
This
is the final arc. So the last arc, 7 through 9, might be my favorite arc. 10 through 12, close second, or, I can change those two. But these last 6 episodes are like peak Star Wars for me. Make It Stop. Lonnie comes up to our guy and is like, hey, I'm burned. I have this information. I love that Luthen is like, he pressed the big button. Like, that's what they call it, like the final thing.
Yeah.
But he gives him the situation. He's like, I need you to help me. Get me and my family off-world. They already know too much.
Yeah.
But basically, here's everything I know about the Death Star. There's Galen Erso, Death Star, yada, yada, everything. And when he says, where are you going to take me? And Luthen says, Yavin, I knew he was going to kill Lonnie. I was like, he's not taking him to Yavin. That doesn't make any sense. And I just thought that was so well done and so in character for Luthen that he realizes, like, this is a loose end and it's over. Like, I need to end this now.
It blew my mind. I mean, I know it's his character. I was just like, how could he? Like, I knew he was going to die when it gets to that part where you just kind of tell that's where it's heading. But there's this part of me like, no. Like,
there's no way.
He just, like, when they put the wife and the daughter thing in there, I'm like, they're going to kill all of them?
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense just to kill him and just...
Right. Let the Empire do whatever they want with.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But I love the whole time because he's like, well, tell me, before I tell me what you're going to do for me.
Yeah.
And like, trying so hard because he knows Luthen.
Yeah.
Just for that to play out, it's like, damn.
Well, yeah, to your point, he knows Luthen. He knows Luthen is not getting him off world.
Yeah.
Like, he knows he might save his kids. That's the only thing he can hope for at this point is like safety for his wife and kid. Oh. And he doesn't know if Luthen will do that. He knows Luthen won't keep him alive.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy.
Ugh.
It's also crazy that that's where it came from. All the Death Star, like those were the plans started.
That's it. Yeah.
is
and
the
like
mole.
when we deep down into like how it comes on later in the episode, I have some notes about it. It's just like that is so crazy to me. That's how this all came to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, he was. I mean, so he's such a crucial character for the rebellion, and he's just dead. I loved him a lot. I thought he was great.
He was great.
The whole time I thought he kind of had a relationship with the Hart guy.
Dude, I thought so too, because Hart is obviously gay.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Why is that? Because he has a list?
Because I don't know, dude. But I thought it was, dude, this is where and I'm an ally, right?
Right, yeah.
This is where my like boomer mind comes in, where I'm totally okay with Cinta and Vel like openly making out. But the guy with like a gay voice, I'm like, what the hell are they doing with my Star Wars, dude? Like,
that's where your conservatism comes out.
They're letting gay people in Star Wars nowadays. I'm fine with the lesbian. I'm just joking.
That's where it comes through.
No, yeah. Him and Lonnie had something going on, bro. They were loving it at the party.
It did feel that way because he's like, buy me a drink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was like a month ago. My dad's like, well, you got a mustache. What are you, gay? I'm like, why is that always equated to just gay people? Dude. And then we've been watching like movies and stuff like Freddie Mercury, mustache, and like all these people in the 80s with mustaches are usually gay. I was like, okay, maybe that's why. But nowadays, that's not what it is.
It's not, dude. I forget that people are like I've had a mustache for the past 6 months.
Nice.
Or maybe the past year. Probably about the last year.
Mm.
I shaved it for a few weeks, like 6 months ago. Anyway, I was at a party on Sunday, like a retirement party, and one of Grace's relatives comes up and he's like, oh, so you can't go within like 200 feet of a school, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, I'm just kidding. I love the mustache. I shaved it. I went home and shaved it.
Because
I don't like that joke, bro. So I'm done with the mustache.
That's really why you shaved it?
No, I was already planning to shave it anyway, but I was like, man, that really sucks. I don't like that joke.
I think those are such two weird things in this world. It's like, people, or like the right earring. Like
maybe that checks out, bro.
Maybe that was true in like the 90s, but it's like nowadays you can have an earring in your right ear. It's not a gay ear.
My friend Zach has an earring in his right ear, and he's straight.
Well.
He's totally...
I'm just kidding, Zach. No, just kidding. You'll never listen to this, but I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude. He's fine.
Yeah, so the next part I have here is when Dedra comes to talk to Luthen.
Okay, perfect, yeah. Luthen does the burn. Dedra comes. Awesome. Go ahead.
What a scene.
Amazing.
This whole time, I'm sitting very cool, and they're both very like that kind of hostile with one another. Like, we got tons of things. Maybe you like something. Like trying to play it cool, but he's still reading her. Like, does she know? Is this just
right?
Loved it. Yeah, so the next part is just when she pulls out the Star Path unit.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, what does she have? And then she's like, maybe something of interest. I found this Star Path unit in his face. I just thought it was such a great way.
Like, that's the thing is when she shows up, Luthen knows that she knows. Mm-hmm. But he also knows he can weasel out of it some way. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just what he does.
Mm-hmm. He's a weasel.
But when she pulls that out, he knows it's over. I love that.
Yeah, dude, when I played it back a couple times, like, that's so good. And just like the way it all felt like he's this person who collects all these artifacts. So this is an artifact. Just all played so sweet.
Right.
I loved it.
And I also love like her reaction when he stabs himself. She cannot believe it.
Yeah, she is shocked.
And I was thinking about that, like when you talk like earlier episodes, Partagaz says something to her. He's like, let the idea of career advancement ease your mind. And that's what the Empire is about. It's about fear and like advancing yourself. The rebellion is not like that by nature. So like her shock that he would be willing to sacrifice himself to keep this information alive and to keep the rebellion alive, it's because the Empire is not built like that. She would never do something like that to keep the Empire powerful. So I really love that. Like, and I think she played it really well. Yeah, obviously just a masterful scene.
Yeah,
amazing,
so good. And could you stab yourself with a knife,
bro? No,
crazy.
Seriously. I was like, why'd you do it that way, bro?
I'm like so many ways.
You're on Coruscant. Run out the door and like dive 5,000 levels and kill yourself. I don't know.
That was crazy. But he does give us that line that's just so good. The rebellion isn't here anymore. It's flown away. It's all over the galaxy.
Oh, so killer.
Awesome. And I love that because that line kind of just puts a bow on what he did. Like it's done. Yeah. My part is here. It's over. Yeah. I've set what I set in motion. Let it happen. Which is
incredible.
Because now we have the flashbacks.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Which is so
watching
good.
This back here.
So here, fun fact. I saw on Disney Plus, looking back, I don't know why I didn't think of this, but it said season finale. So I, for some reason, thought that 10 was the end. As
Oh,
I'm watching it, like this is the last episode because it just said season finale streaming now.
yeah.
Because it didn't say like last 3 episodes. I didn't pay attention, so I just clicked it. It took me off, so it showed me the whole list. So I'm
Okay.
watching this whole thing like this is the end.
Why are they doing this?
But it's funny because when we get to the end, I was like, honestly, I think I love that. I don't know why. Because I thought I was like, because we know what happens with casting, we didn't know what happened.
Yeah, we don't need to lead right up to it. Yeah.
And I was like, that's fine with me, honestly. And there wasn't really that many loose ends in my mind. And looking back, there are for sure. But I was like, oh.
Yeah, dude, that's funny. Okay, so we get the flashback. Luthen, he's working for the Empire or something. Dude, this is another thing. This is one episode that I watched an Easter egg video on. I'm not really into Easter eggs, especially with this show. I'm like, I really don't care what they're referencing because the show's standalone. But again, it was one of those days I'd cycle through all of my YouTube stuff, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this.
There, brother.
And he was talking about how the production design talked about how it's an Imperial uniform. And he was like, multiple times in this show, they've been inconsistent with the age of the Empire because at this point now, the Empire's only been around 19 years. Clea, who is like 30 something, 35 maybe, 20 years before when he found her, when she's like 8, so maybe 25 years before, the Empire shouldn't have existed. Like this should be Republic days. The fact that he's in like an Imperial military uniform, it's not consistent. Yeah. He also talks about how Dedra was raised in an Imperial Kinderblock when she's also the same age, like 35, and she would have been, when she was orphaned, she would have been a part of the Republic, not the Empire. So anyway, that's one thing to consider. Whatever, that's just a nerd thing, and I wish I hadn't watched it because I don't care. But but I love how little of Luthen's background we see. Like we see he's seen some rough stuff. He's been a part of an occupying force, and he doesn't like it, and he feels some regret when he sees Clea, when he finds Clea. So that worked for me.
Yeah, I love that a lot. That's what I was trying to pinpoint. Is like I couldn't figure out if it was Imperial or not because it was just didn't look as
just different.
Yeah. And I love the ambiguity. Yeah,
ambiguity, yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Nice.
Of just like we don't know where they are, what's happening, but that's not important.
Right.
Like all we need to know is he's not happy with where he's at. He's saying, literally screaming, "Make it stop!" Title of the episode, and I don't know. I just loved it.
I love it too. It's so great. I loved all these flashbacks, and it makes me want to go rewatch season 1 and 2. Because this whole time I've like not really cared for Clea that much.
I agree.
Like whatever.
I agree.
In this last arc, she's dialing it up. She's like one of my favorite characters, and with that increased relationship piece, oh my gosh, I love when he last talks to her, and maybe it's not when he last talks to her. She says something about like it has to go perfect, like this has to be perfect, and he's like, I think we used up all our perfect. That's one. They just used up all their luck throughout the rebellion. But it's also like the little smile she gives. It's a reference to like, hey, there have been times, even though we've had this weird father-daughter distant relationship our whole lives, like there have been times when it's been perfect for me. I just thought that was really sweet.
That's really cool. I didn't pick that up. That's nice.
It was cute, man.
That's cute.
Okay, but yeah, these flashbacks work for me. That's basically all I have.
Yeah, and I just love... And I do love this kind of spy thing she's got to go through, and like the things she's learned from Luthen with the flashbacks really plays into everything. She's like, okay. It is funny to me because it's like there has to be this little bit of hate within her of like, you killed my people. She's got to hate him a little bit, but then she kind of is always with him. So it's funny because it's not. Cause I never even looked at it as a father-daughter like this long.
Right.
I kind of just looked at it as coworkers that worked together. She was young, whatever, like picturing like when she was 20.
Right.
He like, hey, come work for me. That's what I thought. It's like, oh,
Same.
so you see this, which makes sense though, because it's like there's always this gap.
There's a tighter bond. Yeah.
Which I think is awesome. I really loved her sneaking around, blowing up the ships. I just loved that whole scene of her getting through.
The hospital scene,
yeah,
as you're saying, her infiltrating, so cool.
Loved it.
I love the like alien that she wheels around, like grandma alien.
Yeah.
That was so effing funny to me.
Huh?
And I was like, in a show that I've like praised the lack of levity, that levity really paid off for me, and I was like, that's hilarious. Whatever.
That's so good.
And she goes in, she kills him, which again, I thought that just totally fit for her character. Like, I saw this thing on Reddit that people were like, I was really surprised she was killing him. I thought she was going to go save him. And I was like, I didn't get that at all.
No,
Like,
yeah.
of course, like the whole show has been cutting loose ends. The whole season 1 was them trying to find Andor to kill him because he had seen Luthen's face. Like, that's what they do. They're going to end this. But I thought the way that they went about that was really cool. Yeah. Like her tearfully doing it. She takes him off life support or whatever.
I also loved I love that, like, just another level to this show is it just doesn't give you those gimmicky things. Mm-hmm. She doesn't get the last goodbye. There's part of me like, dude, if he wakes up, I'm going to be a little mad. If he's like, oh, thank you, or like, bye, whatever, get her last goodbye. And I love that she doesn't. Like, it's like, that's life. Sometimes you're too late. It's like, they're gone. Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
Great point. That's a great point.
So, now remind me, in this episode, Dedra goes down, but she's not in the cellar yet, down in the basement, right? Krennic hasn't shown up. He doesn't show up to the next episode.
No, this is next episode. Okay. So, Hart, her former employee or secretary, whatever, actually comes to the hospital and he's like, "You're way beyond your scope. Like, we're taking you in," which is another thing of the Empire. Like, well, never mind. I won't make that point because it's stupid. But anyway,
okay.
But like the fact that she gets pulled off of it after she thinks she succeeded, like it's just it's perfect.
Yes.
Last thing,
ambition kills her, dude.
It does, dude. So this was one of my favorite episodes. Seeing how badass Clea is, all the flashbacks, and a great send off for me to Luthen.
Yeah.
Like how he ended, how he went out is exactly what I wanted. I liked the final flashback where they're on Naboo at that like cafe, and she's like so eager to blow up the bridge, and he's like, "Look around you, like see what you're going to disrupt." She sees like the kid playing with or talking to his parents, like all happy, and he like just wants her to understand the gravity of what she has to do. And he takes the remote and he pushes it, and he's like, "Look at me first." He's like, "Don't look at the bridge because we're about to blow it up. That'll be suspicious." So he's like teaching her practical things, but also how to process through all of these things. It just really worked for me. It was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. Just a 10 out of 10 episode.
10 out of 10 for episode 10. And we're getting into 11. And we're at an hour 35. So we're not going as long as I thought. I thought we were like 2 hours.
1 note and 11. So walk me through what's going diggity down.
Okay. So the hospital, Hart is back there, and the hospital director, that really resonated with me because I'm a hospital administrator. It's one of those things where I was like, dude, I would have to be having this conversation about keeping my hospital open, whatever. Anyway, so, okay, that conversation, and then Dedra is in the cell.
Yeah.
And who comes but...
Love that shot, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was really cool. There is one thing he does, which is so good. I was watching a video later. The actress is talking about it, but when he puts his finger on her head.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, that was unscripted. She's like, but it's like such a weird, eerie thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good of an actor. He's like, that is such a weird thing. Like,
so weird.
And you're like, well, what are you doing?
But it's so in character.
It's so in character. So
great.
It fits the scene so well.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And again, going back to, dude, does Ben Mendelsohn or Krennic have like a lisp? I was watching a little bit of Rogue One after this, and I couldn't hear it. But in this scene, especially, there's a lot of like in his S's.
Yeah, he might.
The Death Star. I can't remember. Anyway, one thing that bothered me, he says, "Say the word," and she says Death Star, and it's 2 words. I'm like, just have him say the words. Anyway, but no, I love that. And I did see the same thing, that it was unscripted and Ben Mendelsohn's idea. And I just think that's so cool.
So cool.
And again, we see like him being violent towards her. Like, this is how the Empire rolls. Like, there are personal vendettas in addition to like you not following the rules. You're going to get formal retribution. You're also going to get my personal wrath.
Yeah.
And I really liked that.
Yeah. Oh, and I do love this idea that, kind of going back to what you said earlier, that she thinks, I did it, I'm going to be rewarded.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, I'm in cybersecurity, if you don't know.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And my teacher, my professor in college, would always say this. He's like, listen to me right now. If you go hack a company or the government and show them like, oh, look, this is what you did, and they catch you, it's not going to be like Catch Me If You Can where they hire you.
Where they pay you, yeah.
Or in all those movies where like, oh, we'll just have this guy to work with us. Then he's like, you go to prison. Yeah. It's over. You broke the law. It's not like they're like, oh, he's so smart. Let's just keep him around. So in this way where it's like, oh, you did such a great thing. It's like, I don't care. You broke all these laws and rules. You're gonna get reprimanded. Yeah, which I love.
It's great. This was a little shaky to me that she like got all that information that Lonnie eventually gets.
Yeah.
Through like misplaced emails, basically.
Yeah, so it sounds like that was kind of the funny thing to me is like this someone messes up and forwards her something.
Yeah.
And that's basically how it all happens. She gets forwarded these emails by mistake and she doesn't correct it and she sifts through it to get the information.
In a way, it really works for me because I'm like, that's the thin thread that rebellions are built on. Like in Andor, when Andor says to Jyn Erso, he's like, we need to have hope. And she's like, hope? He's like, rebellions are built on hope. That's what he's talking about. Like he's seen this thin line that has kept the rebellion alive and all of these little coincidences. And, some would say the will of the Force. Some would say coincidence, whatever, that has kept it alive and growing. And that's a perfect example of it. Just like imperial ineptitude, just making it work. So,
which... I do love. I like it. It is silly to me, but what you're saying, I think it plays into it,
right?
But one thing that I do love is the fact that Dedra is the sole reason, that the Empire's defeated.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's literally she is that reason.
Yep.
If she just says, "Oh shoot, hey, wrong email," moves on with her life, none of these events happen.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
It's great.
She's the reason.
Yep. Okay, we get to... Okay, we're back on Yavin. Oh, I really like this. Melshi, Cassian, and K2 are playing like some game.
Yeah.
And they're like all drunk on Revnog. They're laughing at K2 for being like the smart guy and like trying to calculate their feelings and whatever. And it's just really funny.
Yeah.
And I think that scene went a very long way in establishing their relationship.
Yeah.
Like it's like a 2-minute scene. But then it makes Melshi's death in Rogue One a lot harder and K2's death a lot harder because you see that they were real friends, So that worked for me really well.
So, I do love this kind of how that. This isn't mine. I saw this from. I think this is off the Star Wars videos. It's clean. It's happy. It has all these things. It's all nice and tied together. And then you come to here, and it's a frat house. They're just drinking, partying because he's kind of lost that organization that love his life. And I'm just like, that's
cool. Great. That's great. Love that. The next note I have is Krennic is briefing Hirt and Partagaz on Kleya. And he's like, you're going to put this image out, yada, yada. And I think it's Hirt who asks, like, how are we going to get people to comply with this and not start a panic?
The beans, yeah.
And I can't remember. I'm trying to watch it right now. I don't know if it's Partagaz or Krennic who says, like, say she's infirm, say she's got a disease.
I'm guessing Partagaz.
It must be Partagaz. But that, for me, is perfect because in season one of my favorite monologues from Partagaz, he's like, it is Partagaz that suggests she's diseased. Partagaz says, we are healthcare providers. We're treating the disease that is rebellion.
That's a good point.
And so it comes full circle. And that's one of my favorite monologues from season one because I'm like, gosh, that's so sick, dude.
Sweet.
The ISB, they're healthcare providers.
Because you just love healthcare.
I'm so passionate about healthcare. If you're listening, follow me on LinkedIn. Trying to get a fellowship right now. But yeah, so I really loved that. Just a little detail there. Diseased, yada, yada. She escaped the hospital with an infectious condition. Threatens everyone. Stay away from her. Call the authorities. Okay. Cassian sees the signal that he thinks Luthen is in trouble. Yeah. So he comes back to Coruscant with K2 and Melshi to the safe house. Any other notes?
No, that's really all I had because then the intensity of everything. Because this is, I can't remember. Where does this end? Do they get there? Or?
Yeah, so we get right up to... Oh, no, we actually see it. So this is the tactical... Oh, no. We're getting right up to them approaching the... Cassian comes in. He finds out that Luthen's dead. Kleya is like, take these details.
Yeah. She does not want to go to Yavin 4.
Exactly.
Which still does... I'm a little... Why doesn't she want to go? Because she just pissed off so many people?
That's what she says. I don't know if it's partially like Luthen is in her head saying that like they're so different from the rest of the rebellion, but it's true. Like you see all the strict rules on Yavin 4, like they have to check in, they have like these health things that they need to comply with.
Yeah.
They can't take ships on and off. And obviously that's not Clea or Luthen's style.
Yeah.
So she's like, where do I fit in there? Like, I can't be a part of something like that. So I think that's probably it. She acted, though, like there was something that they would do to her, like some kind of punishment she would face.
Yeah.
But I'll have to rewatch that to see exactly what she said.
All right.
But we get to that point where the tactical ISB agents are about to breach the safe house. Okay, and K2 has like come out of the ship because he can't get a word with Cassian. And this is the last episode. Episode 12, Jedha, Kyber, Urso. Those are the 3 words that keep getting repeated to Cassian.
Who are those people? What are those things?
So Jedha is this desert planet, similar to Jerusalem.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway. Kyber, Urso.
Kyber, Crystal, Urso.
Okay, so this was pretty badass. Loved the action here, where the ISB agents are coming in, and K2 just comes in, uses guys as like human shields. That's how Hirt dies, and whatever, they get out of that situation.
As I was watching this, I was like, it's funny to me that there's been so many fake outs that like when something you expect, like for example, when they're coming up on the door, the Imperials are, and they're talking, and then it cuts to Cassian and them, and they're talking, and then it cuts back, and they're getting towards the door. In so many shows I've seen as of late where it's like the door opens and they go in and they're not there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that was the thing from before. And it's like, oh, such a gotcha. I'm like, is that what's going to happen? Or is it just going to be what it is?
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because I was like, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
And I was happy that it was just him walking out and they're like taken by surprise. Shit,
yeah.
And they started going.
Right. Dude, you know where they first did that, by the way? Where all those shows rip it off from?
I would love to know.
Silence of the Lambs. Probably.
I haven't seen Silence of the Lambs in a long time.
Hot take, it's not that good. I don't really like it. Everybody loves it. It's not that good.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, watch it. Okay.
You know what's really not good?
What?
Fahrenheit 451.
Dude, I saw that log. That was a crazy. Did you just read the book again or something? Or
I just read the book, and I'm like, my whole plan is when I watch movies, I'm not going to compare it to the book.
That's hard.
It's not fair to do.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm like, but this movie was literally like, even in the opposites, it's like, it's a different take on the book.
Yeah. And
it's just not good. And it sucks because I love
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan.
Sure you do.
His stock's hot right now.
Yeah.
Sinners is amazing. I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen Sinners? It's quite good, dude.
Okay.
I really like it.
And so, like, when I watched this, it almost felt like a B-tier movie. Like, I was like, you need to pay the bills?
Well,
which is funny because the book is huge, and I'm sure it had a lot of hype, but it just did not.
Oh, yeah. It was during that time. When did it come out? 2014?
No, I think 18.
What?
I mean, look,
Dude, I need to know this right now. Sorry, we're pausing from Star Wars.
It came out in 2018.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. That sucks.
5 out of 10 stars on IMDb, but on Letterboxd it's 2.
Dude, that's a bad movie.
Yeah.
I need to watch that.
It just,
I need that, bro.
There's so many things that they don't flesh things out and they just throw things out. it's just not good.
Yikes.
The movie's just not good.
Right. Okay, well, that's another suggestion from Spenny. Remember that.
So where are we at?
Okay, so holy gosh, I almost swore.
Holy gosh darn it. You've been watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? Oh, Ellie loves that stuff.
Does she really?
She eats it up.
Dude, I've been seeing so many people complain on social media, and I'm like, this is like the Streisand effect. I wouldn't have even known this show existed if it weren't for Mormons bitching on their Instagrams.
What are they mad about?
I don't know. Well, I don't watch the video. Well, I'm part of the problem. But they're like, this doesn't represent Mormons at all, and I'm so ashamed of it. And I'm like, have you watched the show? Like, does anybody know what it represents? Who cares? I don't know.
I mean, like, but here's the thing. Like, if you ever met a Mormon and you watch it, like, oh, they're different.
Yeah.
This is a different breed, which is fine. It's like, whatever. Who cares? The reason why I say it is, and I am literally the same way. It's just F this shit, damn, just cussing, and then gosh damn it, just always a gosh.
Yeah.
And all of it, and it just makes me feel
That's funny.
Because I'm the same way. I do the same exact thing. But
I'll say whatever word, but don't let me take the Lord's name in vain,
I'll say some foul stuff. Some of the grossest sentences you ever heard, but I won't do it.
Won't do it.
But I was just, I don't know, when you said I almost freaking cussed.
Well, yeah, because I almost did say, I almost took our Lord's name in vain, bro, on accident.
That's good stuff.
Okay, then we see a hologram of Saw talking to Mon Mothma. I thought that was really funny because something I always quote to Grace is lies, deception from Rogue One. And he's like, lies, you don't know where I am. And she's like, we know you're on Jeddah. And he's like, you don't know anything, you're lying. And I just thought that was really funny for some reason.
Reminds me of Trump.
No, seriously.
No.
It's your buddy, dude.
What do you mean? We know
we're looking right
there.
at it, bro. What are you talking about? Oh, that's great. But yeah, I really liked seeing kind of the inner workings of the rebellion here, specifically the politics of like the council, where we see chick and bearded guy. Don't know their names. Yeah. Don't care. But they're bitching about everything. Don't care. Who cares? They're bitching about everything. They're like just wanting to hold everything back. Screw them. Gosh, sorry if you can hear that dog. Cassian comes and he tells the council, and those are like the two dissenters. They're like, well, we don't believe you.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do? Admiral
Akbar.
It's not. So he's related to Akbar. Gosh, I can't remember. He's Mon Calamari. Moncala, I mean. I think the planet. Anyway.
Whatever that's.
I really like that interaction because it's like he knows what he's got. He knows it's gold. But they're rightfully so. They're like questioning it. They're like, we need more information on this before we do anything. But it also comes off like, hey, you suck. Luthen died for this information. Oh, that's the thing I didn't like. Yeah. Well, I liked, but they're like, well, we don't trust Luthen. It shows the frailty of the rebellion at this point. They're like, yeah, we have a personal vendetta against Luthen, so we're not going to trust anything he says. And it's like, he gave his life for this. Yeah. Why would he,
That line he says, because they're getting mad at him for leaving. He's like, you know what? I am guilty of that. I went to go save an elf friend. I am guilty. He's like, that's not why I left. But he's like, the information I gained. And then he's like, that, yada, yada. And he says, to stand here while you insult a man that has given everything when you've only given a fraction.
Yeah.
Like, that's
so killer.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so great. But even like Bail is like, I don't know if I can trust it because it's from Luthen, which sucks. Screw you, Bail.
Yeah, it was very frustrating to watch. It's like, dude, like, I don't know. It's one of those things like, maybe it was even in this show. It's like, can we afford not to? Like, when someone says something, it's like, can we afford not to believe? Like, we have to check.
Right.
I don't know. It's just crazy.
It's so good. Okay.
I don't know when it happens, but what's his name? The Imperial guy you like?
I don't like any Imperial guys, bro. Krennic?
No, not
Ben
Krennic.
Mendelsohn?
The other guy, the bald guy. Not bald, going bald.
Partagas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That scene.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So this is great. Mm-hmm. He's listening to Nemik's manifesto, and he's about to be taken in by the Imperial authorities, probably thrown in prison. And what does he say to... Jeez.
My question is, though, while you're looking it up, Nemik's manifesto, how was it recorded? Was that just something for us?
I think like when he was logging it and journaling in it every day, he was voice recording it.
Oh, that's what it was.
So the guy comes in, I can't remember his name, Hiet or something like that. He's like, I told him I'd bring you down. And Partagas says, may I have a moment to collect my thoughts? And there's just like a nod from our guy. He walks out, door closes, you hear muffled blaster shot. And I love that the stormtroopers like react and the guy just like gives him a hand and he understands what's going on. It's
reminds me of kind of pays homage to our George's influences with samurai and Japanese culture.
Yeah, seppuku.
Brought a shame.
Yeah.
Which he played it smart. That's what Dedra should have done.
Seriously. Because she's going to go in prison for the rest of her life. Like, we know you don't get out of there.
Yeah, that's got to be like a cop going to prison, dude. She's probably going to get beat the hell up.
Dude, exactly. And I wonder what happens to her when the New Republic comes into power. Okay,
they probably go soft on her, dude.
Probably. We'll finish it up here. We see Vel interacting with Clea and with Cassian. Those loose ends are kind of tied up. What else really happens? Okay, we see like what happens to Perrin. He's got like some girl on his arm. He's just living it up on Coruscant now that Mon Mothma's left him. Dedra's in prison.
I love that scene where the lights go out.
Oh yeah,
and then she just starts sobbing.
Yeah, so great,
so good.
Oh my gosh, this works so well. Okay, so this is my last thing. Cassian, he has received orders to go meet on the Rings of Kafrene with Temik and Forma. And as he's walking out, he sees the Force Healer who has called him a messenger, and he like gives her a nod, goes, gets in his ship, goes to the Rings of Capri. Dude, I popped in. I had just been in London and bought the Blu-ray of Rogue One. It's kind of hard to get in the US, so I had to snatch it. I pop it in. It plays so perfectly into Rogue One because then he goes and meets that informant on the Rings of Kafrine, and the guy says, Galen Urso, Kyber, Jeddah. And he's like, what? How do you know that name? How do you know Urso? And like back then, it's like, why are you being so dramatic? But now it's like he gets a second witness to the things he's trying to convince him. That's my last thing. Do you have anything else?
One thing, B2, I totally forgot about him. That made me so sad when I saw him. I was like, oh, he just loves Cassian.
Yeah.
And he's just on that planet.
But he's got a much better life.
Yeah, he's playing, but it's just like
it did.
I totally forgot about it. Yeah. Nothing goes well for her.
Yeah.
And Tony Gilroy's like, just wait till the end.
Yeah.
Just wait till it's all gonna pay off. It's gonna be good. It's really actually quite emotional. She's like, and then it's just so beautiful that she that ending shot with her, like her face is like, I'm gonna see him. Like when this is done, I'm just giving his break. But she's got no idea that that's it. For him. And it's so perfect. It's so great. I loved it.
It's amazing. That's the other thing that got me emotional when she left him. She's like, when this is all over, this is done, we'll be back together. And that was a year before. Okay, so she probably doesn't know she's pregnant. Or no, she probably knows she's pregnant at that time. Like she knows they're gonna get back together and have a family. And then he just dies. Yeah. And it's like that. We've talked about this a lot, you and I. That's one of our favorite things about Rogue One is like the story ends. They're willing to kill characters to have a good and satisfying ending. But then they give us all this background. And it's like, why do you have to die, dude? Like it, but it lends so much more to his sacrifice. It's amazing.
Yes. And just like, and it's great because it's like that's it. Like I don't see Star Wars doing a spinoff with Bix. Maybe,
dude, with the kid.
Is
the kid gonna be some pilot in the New Republic? I don't know.
Could be, but it just feels so good to end that way. And one thing, last thing I was gonna say that I loved that the filmmakers were talking about was they're like, it's so great having a show that you don't have to make an ending. You know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, seriously.
So this shot with him going, it's like it's so easy to do and it's so perfect because you can just throw all these cool shots in because it's like I don't have to give you a shelf to put this on.
Right.
We know where this is going. It's like filming to something it's like already ended is so easy.
Yeah.
I'm like, and they did it phenomenal.
Gosh, that's so cool. Okay, so rate Andor.
The whole thing?
Yeah. Well, season 2, sorry.
I still give it 5 stars. 5 out of 5.
Out of 5. Okay.
Yeah. It's not going to be in my top. The more I thought about it, I think Andor 1 is I stand by it, top TV show.
Yeah.
Ever.
It's incredible.
I think the reason why this one goes lower, one thing is that there are more Star Wars-y things you do have to know.
Yeah, you have to tie more stuff in.
Yeah, which makes sense because we're getting to a point where this is all tying in. But season 1, you really don't have to. All you have to know is Empire bad people.
Yeah.
That's really all you have to know.
Seriously.
And there's not a lot of Easter eggs and stuff. But still 5 out of 5 left.
Yeah.
What about you?
Agree. 5 out of 5 for the season, 5 out of 5 for the show. One of my favorite shows ever.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's a perfect blend of everything I love. Spy, conspiracy thrillers, very well-written, verbose, over-the-top dialogue, and Star Wars. Yeah. Like it is serious Star Wars for me, something I've always wanted. It's perfect. Yeah. And like I had some concerns in the first round of episodes for this season. Totally gone now. Like I don't care. It was all perfect.
Yeah,
so
just ended where it needed to be. That's great. I now need to watch Star Wars in its entirety.
Dude, seriously.
That would be crazy going from 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 Clone Wars, all Clone Wars, 3, then taking Andor and then getting to Rogue One. I mean,
that would be insane.
That'd be a lot of TV.
But dude, like a realistic, cool supercut you could do is the last 3 episodes into Rogue One, into A New Hope, because those literally tap right into each other. So that would be fun.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
Okay, well, everybody, let us know your thoughts on Andor Season 2. We obviously really enjoyed it. We loved it. We love you guys, our listeners.
Thank you.
Please check out our sponsor, Peach and Pit. A great way to journal, to talk about your day, good and the bad. I love it. It's really centering me. So
thank you.
Yeah. Wait, are you affiliated with? Yeah. Thank you to our sponsors. Okay, anything else, Benny?
No, nothing.
Okay, well, thank you for being a disciple of the Force.